Hello, this is Malorian, and what we're going to be talking about today in the Orc Tactical team is tactical uncertainty. Now, that seems kind of like an oxymoron, right? Where if you had something that's uncertain, what's tactical about that, right? It seems like it's all up to chance. It's, like a roll of the dice. What does that have to do with tactics? And for a lot of people that are really strict tacticians, it's really something that they can't work into their game plan. It's always really good no matter what type of thing you're trying to do, that you have this overall goal, this overall plan that, I'm going to go and I'm going to hit this flank, this is going to counter that, just an overall plan. And so for a lot of serious tacticians, that means that in their mind, they already see all the units laid out. They know that this one's going to be doing this is going to be doing this, and they basically have almost every interaction planned for the game, knowing what units are their hammer units, which ones are the anvil, which ones are support, and that's just it. Now, when you add in uncertainty, that can be things like, oh, for the orcs with their animosity, but it can also be things like miners or the ambushing herds, things like this where you don't really have any control about them. They should be coming on eventually, but you don't know what turn they're going to be coming on, and in the case of the ambushing herds, you're not even sure about where they're going to be going. So when you mix that into a serious tactical gamer, that's usually something that they just want to stay away from because they can't control it. However, you can really work this into your game, and you can actually have it so it helps your game. For example, one of the things you have to learn how to do is just kind of not have a set plan for everything, and that's really a good thing to not do anyway. Like I said in the beginning, you need to have that overall grand scheme of what you're trying to do in that game. But you really shouldn't be trying to plan it down every interaction for every turn for every unit, because really in this game of dice, things are going to change, things are going to happen, and you're going to have to kind of go with the flow. And so you have to kind of learn how to take each scenario as it takes it and make a new plan on the fly. So that if you're an orc and this unit runs up, or it fails animosity, or all of a sudden you have this unit come in over here because it's ambushers, right? Just being able to change your tactics as you need it in game. And that can be a very powerful thing because your opponent on the other side won't be ready for it. All of a sudden you can have this unit that popped in, let's say it's miners, it's now behind their line over here, and where before it was going to be a matchup between one unit and one, and it was just going to be a straight on fight, well, all of a sudden he has to deal with, now he has this unit in his rear. So it can turn the game on its head, and even though you don't have control over it, you can always just fit it in whenever it does happen. So even though it is uncertain, because you know it's going to happen eventually, you can kind of work it into a long-term plan. Another thing it does, it actually has a psychological effect against your opponent, because they know that, okay, these miners are going to be coming in somewhere. This gorger for ogres are going to be coming in somewhere. And the whole time, especially, again, if it's a person that's a real serious tactician that's trying to plan every interaction, this is driving him nuts, right? He just doesn't know, like, how am I going to protect my war machines? How am I going to protect my flank? What am I going to do? And you're going to start seeing him do things like have units dedicated in the back just to try and watch this gorger, or just trying to find these ambushers to counter them when they come in. However, that doesn't really do anything, right? You have this one unit that's watching over here, and when your unit comes in, they just go in behind, right? But to them, they think it's just a need of control. To them, they need to try and find some way to control the situation, and that's how they're doing it. They're having that unit dedicated trying to counter it. Another way that also doesn't make sense is that uh, let's say you have that gorger or that unit of miners that can come in and is looking at the unit's flank, right? So it's in a perfect position, and let's say there's no anvil to throw it in. Well, on the other person's turn, they can just move away from them. So really, and sometimes there's not even a really risk to these, as long as you're not pinning them in. But to them still, just knowing that, oh my god, I'm going to have these miners pop up behind him or to my flank is just driving him insane. So you can really work this in. All of a sudden, for him, he's trying to be more defensive. Either units are looking away, he's holding back, and while he's doing that, you're just blasting with artillery, you're getting into position, you're taking taking out one flank. So you can have this still direct game plan in your head, knowing that with what I have, I'm going to try and do this. And whenever this spare unit comes in, I'll just make it work as it happens. And so you still have this focused, direct goal, while your opponent's mind is more frazzled and shooting off into all the possibilities. So that's something everybody should really be looking at if you have an army that has these. As I said, there's, the examples would be, the gorgers, the miners, the ambushers that come out. Some of the ones that are a little bit more different are the things like the scorpions, where they actually are more controlled because you're saying they will be coming from this point, and as well, they will get the charge from that point. So it is a little bit more focused uncertainty, but there still is the options where, no matter where I pop out, just because I'm over here doesn't mean I can't charge over here, right? So things like that are still open to you. So that's all I want to say for this one. Use uncertainty to your advantage. Use it to try and goad on your opponent and throw them off as a game plan, and have fun with it. So see you next time. Bye.